the passage of time. We have shared your joy at the birth of your children, and proudly we have watched them grow. We've taken care of your healthcare needs during the good times and the not so good. Your parents and grandparents have depended upon us. Together we have shared the struggles and the wonders of life. At Oktibbeha County Hospital, we are celebrating 30 years of being your lifelong choice in healthcare.
First item that we have after the Pledge of Allegiance is the approval of the official agenda. And I believe we have some items for consent consideration.
Mr. Mayor and Board, for your consideration for possible placement on the consent agenda, we would offer the following items, which of course, as is customary, can be added to or deleted as you see fit. Page 2, under Mayor's Business, Roman numeral 9, number 8 on consent. Nothing on page 3 except the addition to board business of an H, which is a consideration of the status of Country Club Estates Part 2. Consideration of status of Country Club Estates Part 2, and we'll talk about that when we get there. Page 3, items 3 and 5 on that page under the Building Codes Planning Department. 3 and 5. This is page 4. Page 5, all items on that page with the exception of E1, the Electric Department budget. All items on that page with the exception of E1, the Electric Department budget. Page 6, all items on that page. All items on page 6. Page 7, all items on that page. Page 7, all items on that page. Page 8, items 6, 7, and 9. 6, 7, and 9. And unless any member of the board has additions or deletions from that list, did everyone get all of those? Any additions or deletions? Mr. Mayor, I would move that the agenda as modified with placement of items on the consent agenda be approved.
Second.
We have a motion to second. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, nay. Brings down to the comments of the Mayor and the Board of Aldermen. The first item we have tonight is Mr. McLaurin is going to read us a proclamation for Judge Ishii for the occasion of his retirement.
Mr. Mayor and Board and individuals in the audience, it is my pleasure to be asked by the Mayor to read this proclamation in honor of Judge William D. Ishii, Jr., who, as most everyone knows, is retiring at the end of the month from long service as municipal judge. Judge Ishii and I sort of started out together almost, though I turned only 46 at my last wedding. I don't know about Judge Ishii.
I'm far ahead of you now.
But it is my pleasure to read the proclamation. The Mayor and Board of Aldermen of the City of Starkville, Mississippi hereby determine that it is proper this day to proclaim support for the Honorable William D. Ishii, Jr., Esquire, Municipal Judge, March 1, 1976 through June 25, 2009. Whereas Judge William D. Ishii, Jr. was appointed by the City of Starkville Board of Aldermen on March 1, 1976 as Municipal Judge for the City of Starkville, Mississippi. And whereas Judge Ishii has received unanimous reappointment as municipal judge by numerous boards of aldermen of the city of Starkville since March 1, 1976. Whereas Judge Ishii provided valuable insight and leadership over the increased caseload and court personnel as the number of weekly court terms increased from 1 to 4, thus providing an efficient and orderly tribunal of justice. And whereas Judge Ishii has presided over tens of thousands of traffic, misdemeanor, and felony cases in his judicial career, and has done so consistently as a jurist in conformity with the high standards of judicial ethics. And whereas Judge Ishii has served the citizenry of the city of Starkville, Mississippi for over 33 continuous years with conspicuous distinction and dedication, and ensuring the fair and impartial administration of justice in municipal court. Now therefore, I, Robert D. Camp, Mayor of the city of Starkville, Mississippi, and the Board of Aldermen of the city of Starkville, Mississippi, hereby recognize, most highly commend, and thank this noble gentleman and judge for his exemplary and outstanding public service to the cause of justice in the city of Starkville and the state of Mississippi. And the mayor will affix his signature and seal on this document. Judge Ishii, thank you.
Thank you very much. And just let me say just a few words that what a great honor and privilege it has been for me to serve you all of these years as your municipal judge. And I want to thank all the mayors that I've served under and all the boards of aldermen that I've served under for these years for supporting me and for supporting the municipal court of the city of Starkville. It is true that we have grown and grown and grown over the last 33 years, and it looks like we're going to continue this trend of growth, which is a wonderful thing. So I just want to thank all of you. I want to thank all the boards of aldermen, all the mayors that I've served under for this great and wonderful privilege. Thank you again, and goodbye.
We have a new employee in the street department, Mr. Cecil Hayes. Is he here tonight? Wave your hat where everybody can see you. That's great, great. We appreciate you being with us and look forward to your service to the city. Thank you very much. The swearing-in ceremony for the new mayor and Board of Aldermen will be held July the 2nd at 10:30 in front of the City Hall with a reception to follow in this room afterwards. I'd like to take a minute at this time as the outgoing mayor to have my department heads to please stand up and be recognized. If you would, department heads, that I want to commend you for your services of the last 4 years, that we have some of the best department heads in the state of Mississippi are in this community. And I commend you for your knowledge of your various departments, and that I know that you're going to help this new mayor, this new Board of Aldermen coming in here with your expertise, and they should look forward to working with you all because you're a bunch of great folks, and I appreciate the service you've given us for the last 4 years. Thank you very much. At this time, it's our citizen comments are in order. Those of you, do what? So did I skip the minutes? Oh, I'm just trying to get out of here in a hurry.
Mayor, board, move approval of the minutes of the regular meeting June 2nd, 2001.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. It brings us down to citizen comments, in which each citizen is allowed 3 minutes to express themselves or do whatever they want to do in that 3 minutes. Mr. Attorney, you gonna be here tonight, I guess?
Good evening to everyone, board, mayor. Good evening to the mayor and board of Aldermen. I want to thank you all for accepting the requests from the citizens, and they have appreciated everything that we did get done. I'm from Ward 7. My name is Alvin Turner. The citizens just have a couple of things. We have new asphalt on some streets. We have no truck sign in some places. We don't understand what that means. And we just like to know what is the weight that this asphalt can stand. And we also have people have limbs and microwave and stuff on sidewalk, and that makes it very hard for the pedestrians.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. Anyone else who would like to take their 3 minutes? Yes, sir, Mr. Milo.
Milo Burnham from Ward 2. I know that there's going to be a report a little later on in tonight's meeting on the road improvements. I'd just like to say that I find them vastly improved as I ride around town. I know that they're not finished. I am most appreciative for the improvements that have taken place in Long Meadow subdivision. However, I do have two concerns. One of them is that where the roads were milled, there is still a lot of road rubble that is there, and it's being tracked up driveways into houses. I'm a nut, so I've gone out and swept my street in front of my house 3 times already. And I don't expect other people to do that, but I hope that in areas where there is the rubble from milling, that an effort will be made to come back and clean that up. Secondly, I have a concern, and I've expressed this to the city engineer and to my alderman, about where the pavement in overlays paved over the concrete gutters, and I believe this is throwing water up into those yards. And I think that today, with the rain we had, that has happened. And I know last Friday that on Ash Street in Long Meadow subdivision, that there was water thrown up into the yards because the paving paved over the gutters in the overlay process.
Thank you, sir. I think the new administration will be happy to tackle some of these issues. We look forward to it. Anyone else would like to take the 3 minutes?
Good evening to everyone in the room, and also to the Board of Aldermen and to the outgoing board, and also to the mayor who will be outgoing. Even though we stand today, and I want to say to each and every one of you that's going out, we do appreciate what you've done for them. Although you call me trouble all the time, but I'm gonna be trouble for you.
Right.
Next administrator coming in, I'm gonna be trouble for you.
Hard
If
trouble.
things not going right. But I would just like to say, and especially to our alderwoman sister self, she's one of our members at the church, and she's very inspirational, for what she's doing, because our children can see from her what we can do to our city government. So I would just like to commend, all of you for going out, that are going out, and for those of you that are coming. I have a problem tonight with the agenda, and this is the consideration of modifying the legislative structure of the Park Commission to an advisory Park Commission. Going out, I would just like to say, please save this for the next administration to come in, and I know it's just consideration or modifying, but let's not make a hasty decision. If it don't need fixing, let's wait until it gets fixed to see what it needs. Come to the Park Commission and talk to us. Tell us, also, we're citizens. We're citizens. I'm going to keep saying that, and every administrator that comes through here, we are citizens. We got the final vote, we voted you in, and we also can vote you out. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, very good. We'll move on. First on our public appearances is Jeremiah. Set up, ready to roll. Mr. Gunner's here. One of the newly elected aldermen from Ward 5. How you doing tonight, Jeremiah?
I'm doing good. How you doing? Edward, You need this left up here?
You can knock it down.
Knock it down.
Everybody, you don't create any folders, do you?
This is my third time to be here regarding the community market, and I wanted to not come and ask for the in-kind service of shutting a street down, as I have the past 2 times, but more to just say thank you and give you a little list of accomplishments that both Tammy and the market and we're proud of, and that you can to give you a point of pride for the city and for yourself. Some of these photos you've seen, this is our starting market last year. There were 7 vendors last year. We started July the 14th, or June 14th of last year. 7 vendors, everybody sold out in 20 minutes. Your own Edward Kemp was part of that. This is a picture of our July the 21st market, 25 plus vendors, different type of interactive things. You can see the streets packed all day. And I'm glad to say that we are now at this level 1 year removed from our opening market last year. And so we've seen considerable growth and considerable strides. 3 or 4 produce vendors last year. We've now got our first certified naturalist, certified organic, and other types of vendors that are really pushing the market into new directions. And so we're seeing great growth. I'm going to make this quick, so I know there's multiple things to look at here, but I will give a prompt to say that we're coming into the season for peas and tomatoes and peaches, so if you've not been to the market, please come to the market. But most importantly, I want to give you a little list of some of the accomplishments that we've had. Because of our rigor and because of our setup, we were one of the first certified farmers markets in the state. This is something we're very proud of. This is through the Department of Agriculture. We're now hosting weekly community-centered special events. The Red Cross is coming to us. We're giving out information, and the Department of Health is coming for our West Nile education. Arts Council is working with us. Crafts and arts demonstrations with master gardeners, master naturalists across the board. We're leading an effort with the Department of Agriculture to develop the Mississippi Farmers Market Association, and we see this as a key part of the advocacy group that we have statewide in bringing farmers markets to as many communities as we can. And I think one of our biggest points of pride is that we're serving as a model market because of our rigor, because of our applications, and because of how Tammy Tyndall is for the Mississippi Department of Health. And this actually stems from something that we thought a month ago may be a huge issue for us in our regard with prepared foods and other things that we have at our market, but because of the process that we have, because of our market manager, and because of other things that we have, the Department of Health is now using us as a model market for all markets across the state from a Department of Health standpoint. And then this is something that we're working and sharing with other departments in the city. Now we're serving as a recycling drop-off location on Saturday mornings, utilizing the city's alley cat. This is parked on the corner of Lincoln and Lafayette. And this is obviously causing a good bit of excitement because most of the people who come to the farmer's market are the type that are going to recycle anyway. So now they have a location they can come get their tomatoes and leave their plastic bottles and go home happy. Most importantly, I just want to end with this. The community market is becoming a source of pride for many in the city of Starkville. It would not have been possible without your acceptance and open-mindedness. And I say thank you both as from the chairmanship of this market and co-founder with Tammy, and both as a citizen of this community because it's really causing a lot of excitement, and as someone who, as a newly elected official, to see the process and the ability for this board to really invoke change and cause positive things to happen in this community. So thank you. I appreciate it. Good luck to y'all.
Anybody got any questions to ask?
Yeah, any questions?
Tomatoes are ready to come.
Tomatoes are ready to come.
Okay.
We got heirloom tomatoes for the first time.
We appreciate, some of us appreciate your efforts in regard to this. It just adds another quality of life issue to our community, makes it a better place to live. So thank you.
Well, thank y'all. Wouldn't have been possible without you, so thank you.
We have a presentation tonight from Kevin Sanford or Neil Schaefer, engineering.
Mayor, Board, I come to y'all tonight actually originally to give you an update on Lynn Lane, which is what I'm intending to do. But I actually have a few changes I want to update you on and kind of give you a progress report of how we got there. As you know, last time we met, basically, we had talked about going forward with preliminary design. And with that, obviously, we had to look at what right-of-way would be required. The original grant basically assumed we would not have to have it. Also assumed that we could have what's called a categorical exclusion, which meant no real in-depth environmental process, which we ended up finding we had to do as well. There were also encroachments on the project. But all that said, we met with your legal counsel, we met with your local utilities that were along the route and decided that we could still make this happen by the deadline, which y'all may know is September the 30th. In doing that, we've gone back to MDOT Federal Highway and found out that we do need to go back and do some further investigation on environmental. With that, that stretches out the timeline considerably, and that basically kills any of the deadlines we had set with acquiring easements and right-of-way, but also getting utilities moved. That's where the September 30th deadline cannot be met with the current route that y'all had approved. So I come to you tonight in talking with MDOT, talking with Federal Highway to entertain a rescoping again for a new route. And this is better to come than yet, not exactly where the route's going to be. I want to kind of tell you where we're going with this. As you know, Starkville Motion wrote the original grant. The original grant basically was to connect parks and community. At the end of the day, the city owns all this property. It still connects community in Long Meadow, but also connects the two parks. With Starkville Motion also writing the original grant, Federal Highway said we do not mind and will entertain the rescoping as long as they're on board with it. We've met with Starkville Motion, and they have approved and are okay with rescoping, being that Long Meadow, which I guess you cannot see here, but you probably can a little better here. If you'll see the north side, this being Long Meadow here, and obviously the route you can see there. But that being said, still connecting communities, still connecting parks. What I would like to ask your permission to do tonight is let them write a letter on behalf of the city, obviously to rescope this project, and also have your support in the motion to rescope to where Long Meadow would be connected. Obviously, other neighborhoods that are out here now also be connected, but running the route through McKee Park and also around the current sportsplex. The total length right now, looking at that's around 9,000 feet. Didn't really jeopardize the amount of trail you were getting. Obviously, you can build it a lot cheaper than the last scope that we had. With that said, the $1.5 million, we have not topo this here. We have not put together a full cost estimate like I talked to you about last time, so we're kind of starting back over. With that said, I would like to get y'all's approval to, first off, we're going to talk to Park and Rec next Monday. We're on their board agenda to talk to them about the parks and where they'd like to see the trail go. This is just representative sample of where the sportsplex is, where McKee Park is. By no means is this the route it's going to be. We'd like to work with them as best possible so that everyone is a win-win situation. I know they have some future master planning that does entail this trail. So basically, I want to talk to them about it, but tonight I need your approval to go for this rescoping. Federal Highway, like I said, is in approval of it. As long as Starkville Motion was in favor of it, they will write a letter on y'all's behalf if y'all see fit to rescope.
Questions from board members? Richard?
So we're eliminating all.
I'll take
The
a rest
original
of
route.
that out. This would be a phased approach. Something in rewriting, basically this accomplishes the original scope, but we still don't want to kill the rest of what we're calling the Lynn Lane project. We still want to make a connection to MSU one day for future grants. But this actually, it can meet the deadline. We have put together a schedule, which is a very tight schedule to say the least. If we're approved today, our surveyor will be on the ground tomorrow. And basically right now with our schedule, we have about 7 days flexibility in there, and we're also only putting 7 days of MDOT review time in it. So in order to get this done, it's a very tight timeline. But to answer your question, it's a phased approach, not to kill the whole project, but for this one, you get it in within that timeline where the money goes back to the state, which is what we're trying to avoid.
Okay, more specifically, a phased approach. Let's
Right.
talk about the phases. from this to then what?
Well, from here, obviously, right now, along Lynn Lane, this accomplishes a portion of the original scope. Taking from here and following the original route that y'all had previously approved. Those would be the next phases that we would look to accomplish, assuming obviously the funding comes later.
Right, I was gonna say, assuming.
Right. But, you know, once NDOT, that goes back to what we kind of talked about last time with the rescope. Once you start a project like this, and you do have a long-term master plan, the funds are usually released a little easier from the state when you put together a grant package to continue a project that they had already initially funded.
But in reality, a drastically revised.
That is true. That's true. What this does is cuts out all the utility relocations, all the encroachments. Basically, the right of way that has to be acquired is all owned by the city. So I wouldn't see that as being a problem either. Also from an
And
environmental.
the path from point A to point B.
Right. The
Right.
path from point A to point B, like you still get the same amount of basic lane miles, but it's not going from point A to point B. It's just connecting the parks and the neighborhood in this area.
Excuse me. Excuse me. When did you say you need to turn this information into MDOT, your surveys and everything?
Basically about September 30th.
September 30? What happens if Park and Rec doesn't approve your route through their park?
It's good, quite possible to give us a project.
So basically, what you want the board to do is give you permission to talk to Parks and Rec. And what I'm seeing here is that we'd have to fork up, is it 200,000, 300,000, how much? In the city's part,
It's around 300,000.
300,000 to make a loop around the park, right?
Yes, sir.
Drastically revised scope, no longer from point A to point B. We're just circling parks.
But tonight would not be final approval, just approval for y'all to talk to
To
Parks and
approach
Rec.
the rescope. Federal highways.
When are you gonna talk to them?
We've already talked to Federal highway. They said that this is.
No, I'm talking to Parks and Rec.
On Monday. There's a board meeting on Monday.
Federal highways come up with something else you have to go through. By the time you get that approved, want to run.
Kevin, have you thought about talking to the residents of Long Meadow subdivision about funneling all that traffic through their neighborhood?
This option obviously just came up. We weren't happy to talk to them. Obviously, the trail currently goes to the neighborhood as it is now. There's a gate there that currently exists, albeit.
They're locking the gate at night,
Right.
keep the traffic down. Cars are closed at 10, but some people don't know that.
Right.
So we need to have a meeting in Ward 2.
Okay. That would be a problem.
Other questions, or is there a motion on the floor to give these folks permission to talk to Parks and Rec?
Awful lot of city match money to do
Just
now
go
what
around
it
the
does
park,
to
right?
the circle the park. Real disappointing that we can't go from point A to point B.
No, I understand
Do what themselves?
I said, this is kind of like the bridge going to nowhere.
It's just to get,
Kind of, yes.
Yeah, just a circle of park. I don't understand that.
When again are your deadlines? You said,
September 30th is our final
you
deadline.
saying 30 or 3rd?
30,
30.
end of September.
Oh. I would move we take this under advisement until the recess meeting next Tuesday night, and they can still go ahead and talk to Park and Recreation and so forth.
motion. Do we have a second to that motion? We've got several seconds. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Can you say that?
Well, it's not a public hearing. If it's a public hearing, you could. Our next presentation, Mac, you back there, you're in shape. Mark, you and Clyde.
Dr. Melvin Ray's here, I assume, for this purpose as well.
Dr. Ray,
He
would
is.
join
He's
them at
kind
the
of a-
table.
Sir?
Will you be joining them at the table?
No, sir, they.
I think they're sacrificing me, Mr. Mayor.
It has happened before, Clyde, has it not?
It's good to see you again, Mayor, Board Alderman. And a pretty appropriate night, I think, to talk about stormwater. What we're here to request from the board is during the course of doing the civil engineering for the new office building at the Thad Cochran Research Park, there was compliance to be had with the city's stormwater ordinance. So, in analyzing and trying to cite a stormwater detention facility, the aesthetics of the site and some complications with the utilities, along with the research park's plans for future expansion, lended itself to locating the detention pond for this facility actually off the site proper, and as a matter of fact, just outside the city limits. So our intent here is, again, to be able to comply with the ordinance here. To the east is a future expansion area that's quite a bit higher. This location will help us serve quite a bit of that future expansion, allowing us to do one pond as opposed to locating one or two or three or four for the different areas. We've got it sited up toward the tree line. We think we've got it designed where it's not an eyesore. We've got the capacity there for the expansion. So our request is simply to be able to construct this off the site proper and in fact just outside the city limits. I believe you've been provided a letter from Mississippi State where they agreed to maintain the pond. And I believe it's been reviewed by Mr. Kemp, your city engineer. He's in concurrence with the calculations and the engineering on this project. So with that, I'll welcome any questions that you have.
Board members, do you have questions?
So, Edward, the city engineering is in agreement with what is proposed?
Right, the pond far exceeds the requirements as far as this.
We have actually sized this, Mr. McLaurin, not only to accommodate this building, but a large part of this future expansion area. So in its current form, as Edward said, it well exceeds the requirements of the city now. Again, just a little bit out of the ordinary in that it is in fact located out of the city limits.
Mr. Mayor, I would move then that the appropriate variance be granted to Mississippi State University for the stormwater control facilities and arrangements outlined by the engineer. With the university's assurance that they will maintain these facilities.
Second.
Motion is second. Does that mean I need the project and put my stormwater extension on the first problem?
It does not, ma'am.
All of you are familiar with the motion. Everybody in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. Thank you, gentlemen.
Take just a second to thank Edward for his cooperation. This has been a little out of the ordinary. And Kevin Stafford, that happened 2 years tonight, and Neil Shaker, that's working on the research part. Both of them have been very cooperative in getting this done. Thank you.
The next item is a public hearing. It's the second public hearing on amending the City of Starkville Code of Ordinances, Chapter 82, Offenses and Miscellaneous Provisions, 82, 5, parentheses B, parentheses 4, to delete the second mention of the phrase or exhibition from the referred code paragraph. Anybody got any statements in those having a second public hearing on this order? Any one of the alders would like to speak up on this? Would anyone from the city board like to say anything about this? If not, I close the second public hearing.
Mr. Mayor, let me, at this time, if I may, just go on and offer a motion to amend Chapter 82, Section 82.5, subsection B, subsection 4, to delete the second mention of the phrase or exhibitions from that code section of the municipal code, and also authorize the city clerk to advertise in the appropriate manner within the appropriate time period
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Thank you. And the mayor's business, the first item is consent. The second item is a report from the city engineer. Edward, how you doing?
I'm doing good.
How these roads coming?
We're nearing the finish line.
I see.
I just want to give you a brief update on the work that's been going on over the last month or two. We completed about 12 and a half miles worth of street improvements around the city. We were able to actually increase the original mileage due to project underruns and due to the low price of asphalt. We were able to add about 2.5 miles there at the end that we originally didn't anticipate. At your desk, you'll see a recap of all the streets that we've improved this summer. And you'll notice below the gray line, which is about 2/3 of the way down, everything below that line were priority 2 streets that were originally intended to do next year, but we were able to go ahead and knock those out this summer. So we made a significant dent in that list. You add that 12.4 miles with the 4 miles we're anticipated to do later this summer or fall with the stimulus projects, and with that, it'll be about 16 miles worth of improvements throughout the city, which is over about 10% of our city streets. Understand that there are still some loose ends to tie up, some cleaning up, a few tidy loose ends to tidy up, and we also have to do the striping, which is anticipated to start the week after next. If anybody's got any...
You know, that's free up out of the law.
We certainly will. Anybody have any questions or comments? I just wanted to give you an update on where we were.
Edward, just one comment, we can talk more about it. The striping that existed prior to the overlay on Academy Road was insufficient in terms of where it turned people and so forth. Let's carefully look at that to facilitate traffic movement to
There's some history there.
the Academy as opposed to the Garden Center and so forth.
Okay, sure.
Thank you, Edward.
All right.
City clerk's office on our health reserve account.
The HRA report, I'm going to try to be very brief with this. From its inception in October 1 through May, the end of May, we have actually taken in $267,827.37, $488.54 of that being interest received. We have paid out to Southern Administrators, who is our administrator on this health insurance, $11,500. We pay roughly, it's $5 per employee. So we paid them $11,500 through May. The clinics that we had to pay bills on was $76,336, for a total of $87,836.07 being paid out. And we have a balance in that account of $179,991.30. The account is actually doing a little bit better than we projected it at this point.
How many more months do we have before the fiscal year ends?
It will end in September 3rd.
And we have, this is up through
May.
May.
At the end of May.
So we may have $500,000 in there in another 2.2 years.
It looks that way.
We'll leave all that excess money for the city to use in other means, right?
That's correct. That's correct.
Oh, hush.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Our next item is board business, I believe, which we have a presentation, consideration, approval, acceptance of annual audit. Do we have someone here tonight? Yeah, right. I was looking around for it, sorry.
All right, that's all right. Mayor, Board, as always, we appreciate the opportunity to serve the city's auditors, and I hope each of you have read every page of the 72 pages report that you have. And I promise you, we're not going to go over all 72 pages, but I did want to touch on the highlights and offer you an opportunity to ask questions. For the consecutive year, you received a clean opinion. In accounting terms, it's called an unqualified opinion, but you received a clean opinion on the financial statements. I really appreciate the city clerk, Ms. Brewer's efforts and the department head's efforts in getting the information together for us to audit. It always is a lengthy process as the city has continued to grow. And it's something I wish we could make happen in 30 days, but it just takes time to go through all the financial records to the extent that the new government auditing standards require us to. But on pages 2 and 3 are your opinions on the financial statements, and like I said earlier, it is a clean opinion on your financial statements. Really, the first 44 pages of the audit report is something that doesn't give you the information that you need as a board or as a city to really operate. The meat of the financial statements start on about page 45, which gets into the individual fund financial statements. And the main one we always look at is the general fund balance that you carried forward into this fiscal year. And you carried in excess of $1 million of fund balance that were expendable resources for your current fiscal year that you're in, and that's on page 45. The next thing we really look at is on page 51 of the audit report, and that is what kind of a year financially you had. And you'll see that for fiscal year 2008, that you did spend a little bit over $1 million more money than you took in, but that was budgeted, that was anticipated to be spent out of your fund balance carried forward from the previous year. So budget to actual was very consistent. The next page I'd like to point out for you is page 61, and that's our internal control and our compliance report. And that's where we issue an opinion on the internal control structure of the city, as well as all the compliance testing related to any federal grants, state laws, and things like that. We had 4 items this year, which is a very good mark. I mean, you can't go through as many transactions that the city has and expect to have 100% compliance or 100% internal control. The only item that's of any significance, and all these are significant deficiencies because that's what the accounting terminology defines them, but none of them are material weaknesses. And the difference there is a material weakness means that it's something that went wrong in that area that the city could lose a lot of money in, as defined as material. The only one that's really a headache for us, and we're working with the city clerk's office to clean this up, and that's in GASB 34 in the calculation of depreciation on fixed assets. You don't realize how hard it is for them in the current accounting structure, but they have 3 sets of rules that they have to go through to maintain fixed assets. They have one, the city rules. The second, they have the state laws. That means that everything has an inventory tag on it, and there's no issues with that. But the third item is GASB 34, which means that we have to depreciate every item that we have in the city of Starkville. And that's a headache, because now you're keeping a set of records that's outside what state law and your city control structure requires. And that is, we're working with them to make sure that we calculate that depreciation correctly. I think we have a handle on it next year, so we will be able to remove that deficiency for next year. Great audit again, great cooperation, and the city's doing really well financially. And I'm going to offer it up to you for questions now.
Board members have any questions?
Just to highlight your point on GASB 34, aren't governmental entities also supposed to depreciate things such as bridges, roads, and everything else? So it just complicates. It's not just filing cabinets and computers. I mean, it's across the board, everything the city's got.
Right. This road work that you just put in, we'll have to capture that in the infrastructure and depreciate that. And remove what portions of the road we did before. I mean, it's archaic. I mean, why the accounting went that direction, the accountants don't know. The people in New York are the one that run GASB 34, and they don't realize what it's like in Starkville, Mississippi. But we do have to follow those standards, or we have to issue a disclaimer of opinion. But it is very challenging on your city clerk's office to maintain those records.
So this 2 years in a row that you've been very complimentary to the city. That's excellent.
Excellent job.
We hope that the next group has the same success.
It removes a few gray hairs from our heads, yes, sir.
Very good. Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next item is making appointments to some of the various boards we have. The first one is the Golden Triangle Regional Airport. And I think that we have just one person that has applied for that. Is that right? Frank Childs. Frank's here tonight.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we reappoint Mr. Childs to represent the city of Starkville on Golden Triangle Regional Airport.
Second.
Authority Board.
Got a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Thank you. Congratulations. The next item is that of the Planning and Zoning Commission, and I think we have 5 people that have applied. We have one person in Ward 3, one person in Ward 1, and 3 in Ward 5.
Mr. Mayor and Board, with regard to appointments to the Planning and Zoning Commission, I would move the reappointment of Dora Herring, Dr. Dora Herring, to the Planning and Zoning Commission. She has asked for and is found completely acceptable for reappointment. Likewise, from Ward 3, Dr. Jerry Emerson, returning to the Planning and Zoning Commission. And from Ward 5, although we have 3 good applications for the Planning and Zoning Commission, existing Commissioner Pat Bryan has requested reappointment, and I would move his reappointment. Those 3 to Planning and Zoning.
What about Jason Ward?
Are there 4? Excuse me just a second. Okay, and for Ward 4, the appointment of Jason Walker to represent that ward on the Planning and Zoning Commission. So those 4.
Do we have a second to the motion? I guess it does. Motion fails for lack of second.
Mr. Mayor, I will take these one by one, and we'll see where the rat is sitting. For appointment to the Planning and Zoning Commission from Ward 3, I move the reappointment of Dr. Jerry Emerson.
Second.
Motion second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay.
Mr. Mayor, I'd offer a motion to reappoint Dora Herring to represent Ward 1 on the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Second.
Motion to reappoint Dora Herring. A second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay.
Mayor and Board, I'd move approval to reappoint Jason Walker to Planning and Zoning for Ward 4.
Second.
Have a motion second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Y'all getting weak. All right. Ward 5.
In the absence of Alderman Cox, I would move the reappointment of Mr. Pat Bryan to the Planning and Zoning Commission. So now we know we're
Well, that motion dies from a lack of a second. Very interesting. We've got 3 candidates for that particular board. Is anyone willing to make a motion for any one of the candidates? We've had one, and it fell from a lack of second.
I'll make the motion to appoint Robbie Covens, planning and zoning, Ward 5.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it, Mr. Mayor.
Motion second that we appoint Robbie Covens as Commissioner of Ward 5. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. That's interesting. We have one more commissioner, and that's for Parks Commission. Mr. Pete Melby.
Mr. Mayor, I would move the appointment of Pete Melby to the Park and Recreation Commission.
Second.
Motion second. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, nay. Okay. Did we voted on this other consideration of amendment of the city's law code ordinance?
Mr. Mayor, don't we need to accept the audit report?
We do.
Oh, yeah.
Did we do that? Oh,
Yeah, we did not. Would you make a motion we accept it?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Motion is second, we accept the audit report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. The next item is consideration establishment of a pay rate for municipal judge position effective July the 1st.
Mr. Mayor, I'd make a motion that we establish a pay rate for municipal judge at the same rate in which it currently is for judge issue.
Second.
Motion is second. Is there any discussion at this time?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, I'll be recognized.
You may.
Mr. Mayor, let me just say very briefly, just a few comments. First of all, I want to say that I have great respect for my distinguished colleague, Mr. Rocky Favor. He's done a very fine job. And before I make any further comments, I'd like to ask Ms. Spruill, could I see you for just a second? Am I correct, Ms. Spruill, that the appointment of the Honorable Rodney Favor to the position of municipal judge is only good through the term of this mayor board of aldermen?
Yes, Vice Mayor, that's my understanding that the reappointments for the next board will be the selection of the next board. The first meeting of the board will be July the 7th of the new Board of Aldermen, and the appointment, any appointment that this board makes is good until the next board sits.
Thank you.
As is the case with all employees, department heads.
Oh,
so forth,
absolutely, yes.
obviously, yes.
Not simply the judge, but all the department heads, all the appointed officers of the city.
Correct.
Mr. Mayor, and just to conclude my comments, I'm going to respectfully oppose this motion to pay Mr. Favor at the same salary as our sitting judge, which is $79,000 plus. Judge Ishii has done a distinguished job for 33 years in order to get to that salary level of almost $80,000. I think that salary represents a very extraordinary increase in pay. Of course, the current salary is a matter of public record, and of course, our now city attorney is probably making about $59,000 a year. And I think a $20,000 pay increase is very, very generous. And I think we need to be a little bit more conservative in spending the taxpayer dollars, and I think we'll see the claims docket in a few minutes will show to demonstrate the payment of an expenditure of city funds of almost $1 million before it's denied. So for those reasons, I'm going to oppose this. There's no reflection on the capability and the qualifications of Favor. He's a very distinguished gentleman, and he and I often confer a lot, but it's more or less to the issue of the expenditure of the taxpayer funds. So for those reasons, I respectfully dissent to the motion on the floor. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Would anyone else like to say anything? You want to say something?
Yes, sir. Just a comment about the judge's salary. The municipal judge is a unique position within the city in that it is a position that should be held with someone with community respect, and it has to have certain qualities and issues of whoever fills that position, which this board felt that Attorney Faber had and possessed, so we unanimously appointed him to that position effective July the 1st. Of course, the next board can, on July 7th, as the case with all city employees, make a decision as to which direction they would want to go. As far as compensation for it, the way I view this position is not so much compensating Rodney Faber or Judge Issue, you're compensating a position, which is municipal judge. And as we discussed the last time we had this conversation, if you are elected justice court judge, you are salaried at that position, regardless of how many terms you've been in office. If you're elected circuit judge, you are salaried in that position, regardless of how many terms of office you have served. Chancery judge is the same way. It is not the years of experience in that position that generate that pay. It is the respect garnered and the competency of the individual within that position, because if the individual appointed is not competent and not deserving of that salary which comes with the position, they shouldn't be appointed in the first place. So those are my opinions, which I respectfully offer in rebuttal to Mr. Perkins' comments.
Any other alderman got any comments? All those in favor of the motion on the floor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Nay. It passes. We'll wear shorts and record. All right, next item is consideration of authorization for the mayor to execute the grant agreement for the curbside recycling amount of $25,000. I'd like to say that Mr. McGarn applied for this, I believe. You want to go to the grant proposal?
Mr. Mayor,
You want to say something about it?
the Center for Governmental Training and Technology was happy to provide the city with some technical assistance in the application with the Department of Environmental Quality for a recycling grant. We were notified last week, I believe it was, while we were out of town, it has been approved. We will now have $25,000 from DEQ to apply to our recycling program. And this will free the recycling committee to move forward on some things that we have been talking about and planning. I would say with the Center for Governmental Training and Technology, Mrs. Janet Baird, former city clerk with the city of Kosciuszko, did the lion's share of research and work on the grant application. And I lobbied with my friends at DEQ for other things. But I would move that the mayor be authorized to execute the recycling grant recently tendered by DEQ, excuse me.
We have a second.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Our next item is a infrastructure committee report, and I understand that you and Mr. Perkins met.
We did, Mayor. The infrastructure committee met yesterday afternoon to continue our discussion of the proposal of the electric department and the water sewer department for a deposit increase. Again, to summarize what was said at the last meeting, the issue is very, very simple. The electric department and the water and sewer department are increasingly losing money with a fairly significant increase in bad debts from people attempting to leave town and escape payment of their utility bills. The amount of red ink, if you will, has significantly increased over the last 2.5 years. And the management of the electric department and water sewer feel that a deposit increase to help stench the flow of this red ink is appropriate. We have discussed this, the infrastructure committee, first with Alderman Cox, second with Alderman Perkins yesterday. And there are some recommendations that the electric department will make to you. And also, covering on behalf of Doug Devlin, who was not able to attend this meeting. Mr. Hadaway, do you and whoever would like to come forth and very briefly explain what is
Additional information advocating, what including both water and electric change.
This information was requested by the infrastructure committee and wasn't in the original package.
What we proposed was the establishment of a system that checks the credit background of the applicant and bases a deposit based on that risk. The result that we would see on our screens is a green, yellow, or red light with each of those representing a deposit amount, which you have in front of you. We believe those amounts would help cover the significant bad debt that we're incurring currently.
With each potential customer, according to his rating, if he gets a yellow or a red rating, then he would be advised of the situation and would be quoted the deposit for that particular tier. They would also get a letter stating that to the effect that if they would wish to contest it or would like additional information, they would have the address, telephone number, et cetera, of the company that we would be dealing with. Quite a few utilities in Mississippi have gone to this. Even Fort County has set this type policy. The company has other clients in almost all the northeastern states, and this is really getting this type of credit checking and deposit amount is pretty much getting to be the way to do business by all utilities, electric, water, and gas utilities. And also, by the different tier system, it gives the person with the good credit a good, lower deposit. So it's not inflicting any high deposit on a person that has the good credit rate.
So this proposal deposit is homeowner, renter, anybody, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so you would eliminate the sucker.
That's correct.
That's right.
Altogether. And did y'all approve of this in your committee?
Mr. Man, Board, just a few comments to supplement what our elected department in here has said. But the basic problem is increasing bad debts. No longer is the deposit for water utility or electric utility sufficient in any form, shape, fashion to cover the at least 2 months that could be skipped out on and left as a bad debt. Something must be done to balance the deposits with the amount of money that is being lost. At the current time, the city's deposit structure has been in place for quite a number of years. In retrospect, as we look at it now, it would have been more prudent to adjust this every few years instead of waiting a fairly long period of time for the recommendation to come forth to adjust the deposit. Currently, a distinction is made between homeowners and renters. Aside from the classification of people into groupings like that, it goes without saying that it is the renter category where most of the problems are occurring. Exceptions to every rule, but most of the problems are occurring. What is proposed does not affect current individuals, either renters or homeowners. Those that have deposits up remain the same. This, of course, would affect, if approved by the board, all new persons in any category, tenant or homeowner, no longer classified with a lower rate for homeowner or higher rate for tenant. I was somewhat skeptical the first time I heard about the so-called credit check. The more I checked into this situation, it indeed is becoming an industry standard in utility companies throughout both the state, the Southeast, and indeed the nation. The other choice is if you do not have a tiered section that rewards those individuals who have paid bills, established good credit, then the only other choice is to come up with a somewhat artificial high rate and just apply that to everyone. No reward to an individual for paying bills, establishing good credit. So the more I checked into this, was surprised at first to find that this was an industry standard and was becoming prevalent as a method of utility operation. The question still is simple. When nobody wants to pay higher deposits, the city of Starkville is losing money on a monthly basis from people who skip out on their bills. By the time the system catches up with the non-payment of a bill, you can be 2 months into on a utility bill, and you know how high those can be depending on particular situations. So, Mr. Mayor, I would offer those comments by way of further explanation of what the men have proposed.
Set a motion, the land back sort of way.
It is not yet a motion. Is there any other discussion or question here?
Well, we've been discussing this thing for quite some time.
Patience, Mayor, patience. This is an important topic.
I understand that, but I mean, Ed came up and said we need to, gotta do something about it.
Ed, I have a question. What about the commercial accounts? Is there any adjustment on that, or is it still the same?
It's gonna still be the same, we're gonna be doing any changes.
I'm sorry, Ms. Lincoln, I did not hear you.
I'm checking on any adjustment to the commercial accounts.
Commercial remains the same.
Just making that clear.
Ed, you would implement this within the 1st of August, 1st of July, middle of July, what?
That's, our recommendation would be as soon as possible.
Which you estimate to be when?
The current contracts have been approved upon approval by the city attorney, and he's working with those to work out the differences there.
Tentatively, probably around the middle of July or the first of August.
Mr. Hannaway, who pays for the credit checks?
Electric water,
See.
Cost you what, about $5, $10 a check?
$2.70.
Okay.
Ed, would be the appeal process if someone would dispute the results of their credit report from the work?
If they receive a yellow or red light, they're given an adverse action letter that explains in detail how they go about disputing it. They would not dispute it with us, they would dispute it with Experian. And the adverse action letter explains in detail how they do that. Upon receiving a yellow or red, they are entitled to a free copy of their credit report have to request in writing to Experian, but the letter explains that in detail, what steps they need to do to receive that and dispute the information in that file.
I'm sure they won't dispute it with y'all.
I'm sure they may try, but, we can only refer them back to the letter.
You know, you could envision someone, what do you mean I get a yellow light? I got good credit, and so forth. They will be given a letter from the company that says, if you disagree, then you call this number, you talk here, you talk there, you do this to change your credit report, then we'll run it again if indeed there has been some mistake or something that needs correcting.
Also to clarify, if you do receive a yellow or red light, we're required to give you that letter.
What's the time frame from application to?
To receiving the result.
Yeah, results.
Pretty much instant.
Almost instantaneous.
It's a live system. That once information is provided from the application of service, name, social security number, things of that sort, it's an immediate check that's already built into the system that we have. It's just not enabled.
Again, the thought was that those individuals, the majority of our people that pay the bills, may pay them a little late, but to get the bills paid, attend to their obligations, should not be penalized from the city having to set just an artificially high deposit amount applicable to everybody no matter what. It tends to help people that have done their best to maintain their credit and not penalize others.
Mr. Halloway, most of the problems with collection pertains to the renters.
Most of it, yes.
So, and under your proposal, the homeowners will go from $60 to the green light of $185, yellow light $250, red light $315 for the new customer.
You say, goodness, that's a high increase. Yes, it is. The deposit increase, the deposit amount rather, has not been increased for quite a number of years. And now it's simply inadequate to cover losses. It's that simple. What do losses in the electric department result in? Higher rates for everybody.
Yeah. As well as ash dams blowing out. Is that right, Ed?
What was that, Mr. Mayor?
As well as ash dams breaking.
Oh, okay.
He knows what I'm talking about. Do we have a motion yet?
Mr. Faber, where are you in the process of reviewing the document?
I have a conference call on Friday. I've reviewed them, sent my changes. They want to discuss some changes with me. I've been in trial the last 2 days, and we're going to conference on Friday with Ms. Keeler.
They be
Ms. Keeler, the representative from the
representative
company.
of the company.
Call for a second.
Mr. Mayor, I would move then that the utility rate deposits both for water, sewer, and electric be increased based upon the recommendation of our utility people, the electric department, and the water sewer department.
Friendly amendment to that, would you be willing to say contingent upon approval by the city attorney?
Absolutely, all the code contingent upon finalization of all the paperwork, approval of the agreements by the city attorney.
And I'll second.
Motion is second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay.
Nay.
Okay, the next item is item G, consideration of modifying the legislative structure of the Park Initiative Advisory Park Commission. Would you like to start discussion on that?
Mr.
You have any discussion on that?
Mr. Mayor, Board, this item has appeared again on the agenda of the Board of Aldermen. I would move that the item be taken under advisement tonight continued until a recess meeting next Tuesday night, so the board can receive public comment on the proposed restructure.
Do we have a second for that motion? Second. Motion is second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Thank you. Next item that we
Excuse
have.
me, Mr. Mayor, and Ms. Brule, inherent in all this is proper notice to people that there'll be a public hearing about this particular item, so forth.
Yes.
Okay, the next item is item H that was added, and I believe that has to do with the stormwater requirements of Country Club Estates, Part 2, which was basically approved with a grandfather issue here. Is that not right? That's something similar.
More or less, Mr. Mayor. It is my understanding, subject to any clarification or correction by the city attorney, that the board had given preliminary approval to the plat of Country Club Estates Part 2. And this was one of those developments that sort of fell in between the old rules, if you will, and the adoption of stormwater drainage requirements, significantly increased stormwater drainage requirements. This particular development will channel its runoff water into the big ditch, if you will, that runs through the country club. Mr. Kemp, is that a fair analysis of that, or not?
I don't know all the history on this. This is one of those that kind of inherited. From what I understand, and Ben and I talked about it this afternoon, the preliminary plat was approved in 2007, in the spring of 2007. And the stormwater ordinance was approved somewhere in the fall, summer or fall of 2006. I met with the engineer and the developer about this, and seems to be somewhat of a loss in translation between Mr. Webb and myself and exactly what they're required to do.
And so, prior to preliminary plat approval, there was contact between the developer, Mr. Webb, doing a variety of different things relative to this project.
Mike, feel free to jump in. I mean, you know this more than I do. The way I understand it, the normal process goes, you submit a preliminary plat, that kind of gives you the overall intent of the neighborhood, and then you submit your infrastructure, which is your water, your sewer, your roads, your storm drainage, et cetera. And according to Mr. Webb, when I discussed it with him back probably last summer, all the infrastructure had been reviewed and approved of the subdivision with the exception of the detention. And I think the developer was under the understanding that he didn't have to do it for whatever reason. And again, I don't really know the conversations that occurred before I got here. Mike may disagree. I'm not fully aware on everything.
Mr. Brent,
We actually had, Bill Webb and I actually had discussions on some various ways to the things for this project, which was similar to a couple of projects we just prior to that, which the city had accepted and are currently almost developed out. And it was our understanding through Mr. Webb and my discussions that this was going to be sufficient for the second phase Country State.
Ms. Kemp, do you happen to know if Mr. Webb is in town?
I believe he's on vacation.
He's always been on
He's
vacation.
headed to Montana for Alaska for
It's the usual Montana trip.
But that's the last remaining item, before we can move ahead on this project, is approval of the stormwater calculations in their node system.
In Mr. Frank Jones' defense, we submitted infrastructure plans back in '07. We also submitted retention calculations and design, which apparently, here we can verify this, I think, it was so nice. We had to resubmit plans last year. All that got misplaced.
Misplaced.
Apparently so. They couldn't find our design plans or our retention calculations. So we supplied the city with what we had done. But it's probably going on, close to a year now, maybe. It's been several months ago, when Mr. Jones, the developer, got ready to proceed.
Ms. Mayor and Board, I would like to attempt to talk to Mr. Webb about this particular project also, to see if we can get a little bit more clarification. With our changes in stormwater as well as other things, many of us subscribe to the position that if something was adopted prior to implementation of that, then it ought to be, as they like to say, grandfathered. If not, then it needs to comply with the newest regulations. I move we take this matter under advisement and talk about it again at the next Tuesday night's meeting.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Got a motion, second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. We'll take a break here. We've got food sitting over here on the other side if any of you'd like to take. Ben, how are you?
I don't know, somebody apparently thought I did.
Okay, first thing on building department is consideration of approval P and Z item, FP, Ben?
Item FP09-01, which is a request by Mr. Charlie Morgan for preliminary final subdivision plat approval of the Portland Cove subdivision in an R1 single-family zoning district. The subject property is located immediately south of Sherwood Road and the Sherwood Forest subdivision in Ward 3. The applicant is proposing a 3-lot subdivision for the approximate 4.64 acre site. 2 of the lots are already developed. All utilities, easements, and dedications have been provided on the final plat. The roadway is private, will not be offered to the city for dedication. The Planning and Zoning Commission unanimously recommended approval of the final plat as proposed with 8 conditions recommended by city staff.
Board members, you have any questions?
Ben,
Yes, sir.
in looking at the minutes of the planning and zoning, there was an issue over ownership dispute of part of driveway or something for ingress and egress of this property. Is that accurate?
Yes, sir. There was a question of a dispute, and Mr. Faber gave some direction to the Planning and Zoning Commission regarding that item.
Previously, hasn't this board in matters at that time just sort of said we're not going to deal with it at this time, let the courts handle whatever they're going to handle, and we've already done that in this term with Scarborough matter?
Well, that was a rezoning issue.
But
and I
same
think
similar
that had been-
situation as far as disputed ownerships over things that need to be done.
Yes, sir, but there had been a court case regarding that. There's not been one on regarding this.
It's still disputed ownership over ingress and egress.
Yes, sir, and that was, I want to refer to Mr. Faber.
And it is a private drive on top of that.
Yes, sir, it is.
Other board members?
Mr. Faber, your comments, planning and zoning here were what?
I basically told them, they were trying to get into figuring out, they were looking at the maps provided by the people who the other side of the dispute against Mr. Morgan, and they were getting into trying to figure out who owned the easement, where the easement was, and so forth, and I just simply told them, they being the Planning and Zoning Commission, do not need to be wasting their time trying to make this determination, because first of all, they weren't experts and it wasn't binding anyway, even if they did. And secondly, I gave them the 2 things that they needed to determine whether or not to look at, whether or not to send it up to here for your approval or not. And you can see what I told them in the minutes. Basically, that's all they're supposed to determine.
Will the city approval or disapproval of the preliminary final plat have any effect on future litigation if there indeed is a dispute over who owns, what?
No, it will not set a precedent for any chancery court that this action might be brought in. What I simply told the board, the condition was that Mr. Morgan is certified he's in compliance by, that he has access to a city street. And and I asked Mr. Griffith, was he in compliance with all other city requirements and specifications? He said he was, so. But it's not gonna be binding on any chancery court, so we'll be trying to make a determination that there was a dispute. Right.
Other comments? Do we have any kind of motion coming forward?
Mr. Faber, I stepped out just a minute. This came for approval of the Planning and Zoning Commission.
It came upon, correct.
And there's no legal reason as to why we should not act favorably on this matter.
There's no legal impediment to this board approving it, should it deem it necessary to do so.
Okay.
I told the Planning and Zoning Commission, as I said, the two things they needed to be looking at, rather than what they had attempted to start to do was look at the maps and try to figure out on their own, and I told them that wasn't within their province to do that.
Of course, not up to them or us to start trying to settle the
Nor
question
you
of
either.
dispute.
Nor this board either
over the
trying to
process.
settle dispute, and that's what they were attempting to look at. And I said, you got Mr. Morgan's certification that in fact, he has the access that he claims he does. And in all other aspects, Mr. Griffith informed the commission that he was in compliance with all city specifications and requirements. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, the department heads had all signed off on that, and the conditions that were part of the approval were reviewed by the appropriate department heads.
This is your war, you have your recommendations.
It's always war through. Ms. Morgan, as usual, you're frantic for some type of decision.
Well, we jumped through the hoops, we're here to.
I would move we take this matter under advisement until the recess meeting on Tuesday.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion is second, take it under advisement. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Thank you, Ben. Your next
One
item.
more week, Ms. Morgan.
Where's Mr. David Jackson?
Yes, sir, the next item is item FP09-02, which is a request by Mr. David Jackson for a final subdivision plat approval of Huntington Park subdivision, Phase 8, Part 5, in an R40 lot line cluster development zoning district. The subject property is located north of the intersection of Huntington and Kingwood Drives in the Huntington Park subdivision off South Montgomery Street in Ward 3. The applicant is proposing a 4-lot subdivision for the approximate 2.04 acre site. All utilities, easements, and dedications have been provided on the final plat, and the Planning and Zoning Commission unanimously recommended approval of the final plat as proposed, with 12 conditions recommended by city staff.
An outstanding development in Ward 3, one that has caused, with the exception of a little burning one time, no problems whatsoever. I'm happy to move approval of the final plat for Huntington Park subdivision, Phase 8, Part 5.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay.
Subject to the 12.
Subject to the conditions outlined in the city staff report and recommendations.
Next item being that everything else on consent except for item 4. And that was to seek quotations from local attorneys to conduct titles. You asked for 8. We want to know why the city attorney can't do it.
We had provided a list to Mr. Faber, I believe, in early May, and he's been busy and unable to research the items.
and I know his tenure is drawing close. Timing is kind of a critical factor for this because as we begin that process, it takes couple months to wind its way through the process, and ideally what we like to do is utilize the Public Services Department personnel and equipment to actually demolish the structures and remove the debris and grade and resod, which is what we've done on 5 properties now. So timing is kind of critical. So with Mr. Favor being unable to research that list, we thought that an appropriate alternative would be to seek quotations and have an outside, have a local attorney, other than the city attorney, provide the service to us so we can begin that process.
Any questions from board members? Roy?
Yes, sir. I think this request, in my personal opinion, is a little ambitious. I think we can allow this service to be performed by the new city attorney. The board is currently seeking proposals from any and all interested applicants for the position of city attorney through June 30 of 2009. And I think once we bring that new city attorney in, then the board at that time can include this as part of his work assignment. So if we go through and get quotations, and that's going to probably extend beyond the time Mr. Planner of the hiring of the new city attorney. So I'd like to see us save money as opposed to just pouring it out and having duplication of services. So I think personally, I would like to see this being assigned to a new city attorney. We're talking about a few days. I would think that the new board, of course, I don't want to speak for myself, but we're going to have an attorney at some point rather soon. And I would think it would be a very prudent, conservative idea of giving this work to the new city attorney. That's just my thought.
That's fine. I mean, Mr.
But
Perkins,
it's just my comment. There's others at the table who may think differently, but I just want to share that with you.
we've identified over 24 properties in a dilapidated state around the city, and we just thought it'd be a good idea to we've completed the first 5 and actually getting ready to record those. Just about got those finished for Mr. Favor to review, and we just want to get started on the next cycle.
So you're making a motion that we table this, Roy?
Yes, sir.
Do we have a second to the motion to table this?
I'll second.
We have a motion to table this for a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Thank you, Ben. Office of City Clerk.
Mayor and Board, move approval of the claims docket.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion to second, we approve the claims docket. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Raise your hands. All those in favor of approving the claims docket, please raise your hand. 1, 2. All those opposed? All those opposed, approve the claims docket. 1, 2, 3.
Alderman Lincoln had to excuse himself because there's a disbursement on there that's in for airport business, the city business, so it can't be counted in the number.
Okay, so it's 3 to oppose to paying it. Sorry about that, Mark. You have to wait till next time.
Thank you.
Just,
Well, if you wait just a minute, you need to either vote for it or vote against it.
Dang.
Obviously, y'all voted against it.
we did pay them. There are other ways to skin cat.
Here's the thing, if Alderman Lincoln needs to recuse himself, he needs to leave a board meeting. Otherwise, his vote would have been counted as an abstention with the majority placing him in violation.
That's right,
of the
and then I
ethics
get
law.
to vote, and I'd vote in favor of it.
Not, Dan, you're missing the point.
Brian, you leave the room, no problem.
Mr. Mayor and Board, I would move the removal of the Rodney Lincoln payment from the claims docket.
Do we have a second to that?
That's the particular reason we need to do
And
that.
then we can deal with the rest of the claims docket with Mr. Lincoln participating.
So remove the one item.
Remove the one item that causes this recusal.
Do we need to still approve that one expected?
Oh, we won't apparently tonight.
May I ask a question?
Certainly.
When we have been on the claims docket, when we've, gotten payment for conferences and et cetera, this has never come up before, so what's the difference?
It's different, Ms. Self, because
That's why I'm asking, I
Yes.
wanna know.
it's different because this is for payment for a job that he has outside of being the city alderman. Those were alderman comps. This has to do with a job with the airport out there.
Okay, that's
That
all
far.
I needed was clarification.
It's legal for him to be compensated for it, but he can't vote on the claims docket that he's being authorized payment for something outside of his job as an alderman.
Okay.
That's why I said recommended not participate.
That's all I needed was clarification as to the difference.
And if we remove that, then we can get back to approval or not approval of the remaining claims.
All right, do we have a second to your motion?
To do what?
Remove him from claims docket.
I don't know.
I didn't hear one.
No, sir,
Huh?
I didn't get a second.
I didn't think we did.
Well, no, because I started talking.
So are you gonna second his motion?
Yes, I'll second his motion.
All right, we have a second to that motion, that we remove Mr. Lincoln's
That
request
claim.
for claims, that particular claim. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. One person. Tammy, you mind asking him to come back in?
Let's explain to them what we have done.
There are people that want to pay that claim
Yes.
outside of the claims docket with him, so he can vote on the rest of the claims docket.
Okay, we can vote the rest.
Tell him to hold up a second.
I can see it
Yeah,
coming
so you
and
can
going.
vote on the rest of the claims docket. You're not gonna get paid, you just made a donation.
Then we may send you back out. All right, so, Alderman Lincoln, that item affecting you has been removed from the claims docket. So now we're looking at a claims docket without that item.
I would move approval of the modified claims docket.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion to second, we approve the claims docket. All those in favor, raise your hand. All those opposed? The ayes have it.
Now we need to take that one item that was removed.
We certainly can, Ms. Lincoln,
Second
hit the door.
Yeah, don't go off anywhere. We'll just put it back in anywhere.
Don't have time.
Hurry up, we ain't got time for that. We gotta prepare ourselves for the head.
Mayor and Board, move approval of the one item, payment to Rodney Lincoln, that was removed from the claims docket.
Motion and second, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay.
Nay.
Thank you.
Sure.
This thing's moving forward. Let's see if I can.
Well, yeah, that is, young people coming in. Ed, I think we're ready for you. So you're gonna be able to do this in 5 minutes?
Your office.
You just had to do this on the, what would have been the last, but now the next to last way. Thank you. We can share. You got enough?
Yeah. And also,
How are you?
Wet flies, wet, that's it, wet flies, that's wet, and then the rain.
I got you.
Mayor and Board, we're back this year asking for approval of our FY 2010 budget. Paperwork that I just gave you is just an enlarged copy of the booklet. And in that, you can see that last year, we really had kind of a slim year. It was financially, we had to really cut back and try to hold the reins on our spending. This year's not gonna be any different. We are in a little bit better shape this year than we were last year, but we still are having to hold back on a lot of projects that we wanted to try to do, but we're having to split those back. We're projecting our electric sales to be up about 5 million this coming fiscal year. This is due strictly to rate changes such as the TDA's new fuel cost adjustment and the addition of new customers and new facilities that are being added onto the system. It also has a great, the weather has a large impact on what that figure can be as well. If it's real mild weather, then that figure will not be that amount. Forfeited customer discounts, we feel like that they're going to pretty much be the same, where they'll be a little bit more this year. It's strictly due to the economy. People are holding on to their funds a little bit more, and it's getting a little bit harder for the utility costs. Rent from electric property, as you see there, we've increased our amount, budgeted amount there. That's due strictly to adding new pole lines and facilities that TV cable and telephone company will be attaching to. So we'll be renting them space on our property. We feel like the water and sanitation, water, sewer, and sanitation expense are going to be basically about the same. We'll see some change in the water sewer reimbursement part. That's due to handling a lot of the different new accounts that and subdivisions such as Parker Place down on 25, Belgrade apartment housing property there at Lynn Lane and South Montgomery, and different other enterprises. Our power supply expense, that again, that's going to be pretty much dictated by weather and by fuel cost and customer cost, construction. Our expenses pretty much stay the same. In our salaries portion, we based a salary change of about 2.1% for cost of living. That was based on the CPI for this fiscal year. We also funded for a meter technician position to be filled in this year. And we also have funding for 2 electrical inspector positions. Right-of-way clearing, and meter reading, we raised that by that same 2.1%. That was to take care of any cost of living increases as dictated by contract. Pretty much everything else stayed the same. We put in some money for traffic signal upgrades and maintenance. It's our intention to try to go through on as many signal intersections as we can and replace the old bulb type fixtures with the pin type new signal heads. they're LED type CCTVs. They cost a little bit more, but they save in cost, electric cost, and they last a lot longer. You'll also see in here on our capital outlay where we appropriated monies there for addition into the new office building. As the board remembers, when we took the bids for the new office building, that we were slightly out of budget. And we're compensating for that now in this budget. We ended up paying for the property, the Josie property, I believe was $125,000. Then the other two properties were approximately $85,000 each. And then we ended up with surveying cost, we had asbestos removal cost, and demolition cost. And we also appropriated approximately about $30,000 for furniture for the new building. We don't feel like it would be that much, but I have more than not enough in that respect. That's pretty much the conclusion of it, Mayor and Board. If there's any questions, so then I can answer.
Board members?
Mr. Mayor, thank you. Mr. Hathaway, I was under the impression, our conversation, our session on yesterday, that you were going to present a 2% proposed increase in pay for your employees effective October 1 to 2009. I see two different proposed increases from your department tonight. I see a 2.1% on the bigger handout, and I see a 2.6% on the booklet handout.
The 2.1 is the correct amount, Mr. Burton. We made an error there, and when we were printing this, we realized that that error was there. It's based on the CPU information from the third building.
Yeah, personally, I would prefer just a round number. Just me personally, speaking for myself, for a proposed increase. My concern is that I want to ensure that all raises for every single person who is on the city workforce, regardless of where you're located, to be uniform and consistent. If not, there's going to be a problem. And I've experienced this over the years since I've been on this board, whether you with the elected department, whether you with the city clerk's office, whether you with the Parks and Recreation, whomever you with. So I would personally prefer just round that off to a 2%. So once we come in and the new board, if it decides to, along with the mayor, to look at raises, then we can just look at maybe just a 2% opposed to a 2.1. Because whatever we give you to your department, I want to be the same to every other city employee. Because I don't know about coming like, well, you did this for the elected department. You won't do it for us. So why is there a distinction? And I don't want to hear it. So personally, I would prefer if we would just round it off to 2%. I think, we can make a very conservative rounding that figure off, and then when we look at for the other city employees, we can do the same thing and make your raises effective October 1. Last year, previous years, we engaged in a lot of discussion in this board where we're making it go into effect July 1 and October 1. I think that you are making that request for October 1, and that would save some time there. So it's my personal opinion that we just approve it, just a 2.0% pay increase. Now, one other thing I want to mention, Mr. Hathaway, to you, respectfully, the elected department building is scheduled to be completed within 365 days from the date construction began. My point I'm making here, do you have any proposal in your budget as to any projected revenue for the sale of your current existing administrative building?
No, sir, I have not. I know that was a board decision that we made at the time.
Okay, so you just didn't want to get into the area. But I understand. I just wanted to ask the question. But Mr. Mayor, those are just my comments about the raise, and I just looked at the budget. If we approve it, I would just hope my distinguished colleagues would just round his proposed pay raise amount to 2% and make it clear in the motion that it will be effective October 1, along with the pay raises of any other employees that may be given by the next mayor and Board of Aldermen.
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
Two comments with regard to this, and some of this, a little bit of elaboration on what Alderman Perkins has said. The reason we are considering an electric department budget is that there's an existing contract, of course, with TVA, which establishes a different fiscal year for the electric department than the rest of the city. The electric department is a July 1 through June 30. The city, of course, is an October 1 through September 30. What the city has traditionally done for a multitude of years, as long as I can remember, is to go ahead and deal with the electric department budget as presented, with the exception of Alderman Perkins, any rate.
Yes, sir.
In connection with this, I would not want to even go on and approve a 2% or a 2.1 or a 2.6 or anything, because the next mayor's board are gonna have to decide the whole city viewpoint as to raises, if any, that will be granted. So that item can just be struck in effect from the electric department budget and then dealt with when the city deals with the general city budget, as well as the utility funds and the enterprise funds and so forth. So I would simply recommend and move approval of the electric department's budget, eliminating any, not setting a 2%, not setting a 5%, not setting anything, eliminating the salary line items for electric department employees to be dealt with when the rest of the city's dealt with.
Second.
Motion and second. Y'all heard the motion. All those in favor, I would say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. Thank you. Okay, that brings us down to the, no, we got one more thing. Public service, we're down to this item 8. Request approval to insert in the utility bills a modification for drinking water customers regarding co-form testing. Is there anyone here to talk to us about that?
Good evening, Board Mayor. My name is Scott Thomas. I'm the chief water operator for drinking water in Starkville. Doug Devlin couldn't be here tonight, so I was asked to come and let you know what was going on. During our last monitoring period, all water systems have to comply with the total coliform rule, which states that every month all water systems have to pull a certain amount of bacterial tests that are sent to the state to be tested. During this last compliance period last month, we pulled a total of 30 tests. Sometimes we pull more than that. During this last compliance period, we pulled 2 samples that were total coliform present. The state notified us of this, and we immediately got retested these places where the samples came back total coliform present. And all of our samples, we pulled samples at the sites, upstream, downstreams, and we even pulled more samples than the health departments actually required. All those samples came back negative, that we didn't have any problems. But due to the fact that we did pull more than one test that came back coliform present, we're obligated to notify the public by direct means. The health department has sent us a standard form letter that we have to send to our customers, letting them know that this did happen and that we, the actions that we're taking, and letting them know that there's nothing going on with the water, that we don't have any problems, but that this did happen, and it's got to be within 30 days of notification, and we're asking that y'all y'all allowed us to put it on the next bills.
And of course, in reality, this is required by law. There is no discretion
Yes,
on the part of
yes,
this
sir.
board as to whether or
We
not.
were hoping that Mr. Lockhart, our regional engineer, was going to come and help explain this rule, but he couldn't.
Yeah, no problem there. It is required by law, and they simply want to send it out with electrical bills, and so,
That's right.
let's.
I do want to stress that all of our repeat samples that we took did come back negative.
We understand that we have good water.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Where were these bad two tests? I hope they weren't
In the Cotton District.
Oh, no, sir.
I was wondering what was wrong with it.
This, when this occurrence does happen, and we do see it happen every once in a while, it's usually gonna be in areas with older water lines or in water lines with a lot less usage. Possibly they have been flushed recently or something like that. But, like I say, we took all steps that we could to make sure that there was not a recurrence of this, and there was no further problems. And actually, the presence of the coliform is actually just an indicator that there might be potential problems. And going back and doing the test, the retest showed that there wasn't. You know, total coliform can show up. It doesn't necessarily mean that it is in the water. It could have been a problem with the actual testing procedure. It could have been a problem in transit or even at the lab. But the fact that more than one of them showed up this period, we have to notify our customers.
And you do not think we need to terminate the chief operator?
Yes.
I move that we approve insertion into the electric bills the required notice on the presence of coliform in 2 consecutive test samples.
Second.
Motion second, all those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. Thank you.
Thank you.
That brings us down to the executive session in which we need to discuss, go into a closed session.
First off, Mayor Board, move approval of the consent agenda as enumerated by PC.
Do I need to enumerate it
No,
again?
you don't.
Oh,
We'll waive reading.
All those in favor of the motion say aye. We now go into a closed session to discuss pending litigation.
Determine a need for an executive session. Whatever.
The passage of time. We have shared your joy at the birth of your children, and proudly we have watched them grow. We've taken care of your healthcare needs during the good times and the not so good. Your parents and grandparents have depended upon us. Together we have shared the struggles and the wonders of life. At Oktibbeha County Hospital, we are celebrating 30 years of being your lifelong choice in healthcare.